Hey everybody, Raven here. Today, let's be real for a second. Stacking generic silver isn't as much fun as it used to be. Between the high premiums and a market that feels literally like you're on a hamster wheel, a lot of you have been telling me that you've hit your wall of silver fatigue. But there's a new trend that I'm seeing in the comments. That is the rise of the hybrid collector, ladies and gentlemen. Today, we're going to talk about how to balance the hard math of the melt value with the actual art and history of numismatics or even collector silver. One of the things that it's pretty crazy is, a 10-ounce bar like this, Engelhard right here, we do this stacking weight for our foundation. It's the insurance policy, but when premiums on generic rounds stay high, the math starts to work against us. We've talked about the risks of overpaying for generic weight, and if you're feeling like you're burned out by the spot price, it might be because you're only treating this like a savings account and not a hobby. That's one of the things about doing this stuff is that you really need to have fun. I mean, I understand some people are like, Raven, I only stack for silver, I only stack for weight. I don't care what it, has as far as historic value or whatnot. But ladies and gentlemen, you know, things like this right here, 1964 peace dollar. This is actually a Daniel Carr coin. It is silver. It was made originally from a 1922 peace dollar, but it's cool to have some stuff like that, Um, when you start collecting and you enjoy it, this is where the passion comes back into what you're doing. Like a really cool Libertad, or maybe a piece of sterling silver art like these native pieces here, Native American pieces. Many of them have a story to tell. And it's something that's really, really cool because now you have something that you can get into. You can research the history of it, learn a little something other than just, hey, I've got a stack of generic silver in front of me and it's kind of boring, not very exciting, doesn't have much going on. Now, how do you become a hybrid collector? And it's about the split. Literally, ladies and gentlemen, on here, you really want about, 70%, maybe 60% of your weight in just regular numismat or generic um, 90% silver or bars, and then try 30 to 40% in numismatic value. Because when you do this, you're in a treasure hunt. You find cool stuff, ladies and gentlemen. Like, I absolutely love this Canadian dollar right here, and it's got a little more value than just the melt of silver. It's got history. This canoe is a big deal in the native um, aboriginals out of Canada, and Canada honors them in the history with their coinage. Libertads are one of the most hot things out there right now. This one is an Ultra Breaks. It's a 2024, 1 ounce Libertad MS70. Very cool. This one here tells a story in itself. This is the 1968 Mexican 25 pesos. And this coin was literally made from the 1950, the really sought after 5 peso railroad coin. They literally melted down 100,000 of those railroad coins to later make these. And now those railroad coins are worth quite a bit more and have a story to them. And I actually have a couple in my collection. But I think that it's one of those things that's really, really cool, ladies and gentlemen. Something that you can get behind is the history of numismatics while still stacking silver during these really volatile market times. I mean, you're watching $10 and $15 swings in a product that used to take you a month just to see a dollar move up or down. It's one of those cool aspects of being a collector and a stacker, being a hybrid collector stacker, that I think brings something new to the plate. brings something exciting for you to look forward. And depending on the shop, you might get some of these foreigns for quite a bit less than you realize. Some shops have become really savvy and they're understanding the importance and value of world coinage and the history and the demand for them. But you still have some of those old school shops where the guys have always treated foreign silver literally like less than junk silver, even though the percentage of silver in them is quite high. Like right here, this beautiful, look at how beautiful these two Canadian coins are. This is the 1967 series. You have the wolf and the goose, and these are beautifully toned, very nice coins, and more than likely you will get them even toned like this closer to spot than you would other things, especially like U.S. coinage. Some of that stuff is subjective as to where pricing and whatnot is, but there's a lot of people out there that love toning. I think it's cool for the history of coins. I mean, this one here is a 1964 Austria, and it's called a 10 Shields. And this was part of a trade that I did a while back, and I literally kind of got that coin for almost nothing when you look at what it's actually really worth versus what I paid for it. It's probably worth about $65-$70, and in the trade I think the guy was like, hey, here's an extra $30. I was like, what? Because I knew what the coin was. I thought it was really cool. And, I even told him, I said, are you sure, man? Because, you're kind of leaving much on the plate. And he was like, well, we do a lot of business, blah, blah, blah. So sometimes that works to your advantage, too. You got to make sure that you develop relationships with the people you're dealing with so that you can get cool stuff. Like these native items here, this is a very nice and actually has a artist's hallmark right there. Same thing with this one here. And I didn't pay much more than melt for them, yet they're worth substantially more. And it's strictly because the coin dealer doesn't care about jewelry. Some places they really just buy it for weight, sell it for a little bit more than what they paid to make their profit, which, I think I paid an extra 30 cents a gram, which is unbelievable because these things here are quite expensive and really cool to see when they come in the shop. I've got a beard issue going on today. My beard's all weird. Sorry, guys. I keep playing with it. But if you like watching stuff like this, you want to talk about new stuff, let us know in the comments down below. What are the things you're looking at as a hybrid collector? Or are you a hybrid collector? Do you think this is the way to go? Or do you want to stay with what you already know? That being things like 10-ounce Inglehards, 90% U.S. junk silver, or some people call constitutional. Let me know. I'd really like to hear from you. Like always, make sure to take care of one. Oh, wait. If you want to correspond, it's RavenHawkCoins@gmail.com. But like always, please make sure to take care of one another. We'll see you real soon. RavenHawk Coins, have a great day.